coronavirus-fueled panic buying.
Empty shelves, over 3,600 lives lost. The healthcare system is overrun.
The COVID-19 pandemic may have once felt like the end of the world, but
for some people, the coronavirus isn't a big deal. It's a mere blip on the way to a much bigger disaster. This is Joshua Wander. He lives in Jerusalem, and he's what's known as a prepper.
This is a bag, and it has basic survivalist things. Not for your advanced prepper, but it's definitely good for a novice.
Preppers are people who are convinced that a huge disaster is going to strike humanity, and they've been earnestly preparing for it. Now, this is probably what comes to mind when you think of preppers.
Devastating earthquake.
Super volcano.
Go.
700 cans.
Let's go. We're bugging out.
The truth is, humans have been prepping for thousands of years, like storing food to be prepared for harsh winter months. But today's modern survivalist movement is believed to have begun sometime between the 1930s and the 1950s. Around the time of the Cold War, economic instability and fear of nuclear warfare prompted people to begin opening bomb shelters and storing necessities. Yet preppers have long been made fun of for what some believe to be paranoid thinking. Now, the coronavirus pandemic may be leading to a shift in public opinion.
I've been prepping since I was 19 years old, and today I'm 50 years old, and so that's about 30 years of prepping. Any good prepper is going to prepare for a very broad variety of disasters, right? We don't know what's going to happen in the future. Preparing for major disasters can be done broadly. Those basics that one has to prepare for include having proper shelter, a place that one would have to bug out to, one had to leave and go to a secondary location, proper food stored and water, medications, especially if there are people that are ill. You have to be prepared with a way of communicating with the outside world in case of a disaster. Bodily waste is something that has to be considered. There are enzymes that you can purchase that can be put into the waste that basically dissolves the waste.
Joshua is actually one of very few preppers who was willing to speak to us, and that's because most are very concerned about revealing their identities.
Everybody knows that I'm a prepper, but I definitely will not reveal, what those preps are or where they are. Let's say there is a catastrophe and everyone around you knows that you have all the preps. Obviously, everybody's going to come after your preps.
A 2018 FEMA survey found that 57% of people in the U.S. have taken 3 or more basic actions to prepare for a disaster, whether it's a result of nuclear warfare, social or economic collapse, a religious belief, or a global pandemic, just like COVID-19.
So there are preppers in all different environments. Some live in very rural environments, and others live in urban environments. There are ones that are living in the middle of New York City that are preppers, and there are ones that are living out in the boondocks in Montana. Preppers today are much more sophisticated, and in many ways people look up to those people because they know that in times of need, they're the ones that are going to be helpful to their communities.
That's why even the most seasoned preppers know that they can't survive all on their own. They'll need some help. In Israel, there are certain communities that believe they're naturally built to handle almost any type of world crisis. They're called kibbutzim. Right now, we're in Kibbutz Ramat Yochanan in northern Israel. It's one of 275 collective agricultural communities throughout Israel. They sustain a socialist lifestyle, which means that everybody makes the same amount of money no matter what they do for a living. But money is no object because these communities promise that you'll have everything you ever need. They share ownership of their homes, of their cars. They eat in a communal dining hall at least twice a day, and they even do their laundry together.
In Ramat Yochanan, we have almost 500 members. We are self-sustaining. We can clothe really ourselves in a private world. We have here doctors, we have here teachers, we have here cookers, we have here everything, and we can take care of ourselves for months.
Kibbutz Ramat Yochanan produces its own electricity using solar panels. It has its own private water wells, and it has hundreds of acres of farmland, which produce fresh vegetables, fruits, and grains.
In the beginning of the corona, we knew that we can be ready even for a full year. We have here more than 1,000 cows. We have shelters for all the members. In 5 seconds, all the members can be in the shelters, live there in the shelters, include beds, include everything.
And to top it off, the kibbutz even has special committees that are designated to figuring out logistical solutions for issues like security, health, and education, all in times of crisis.
People follow by the rules. Because here we know We depend on each other. If someone will not follow the rules, it can harm a lot of people from the close community. For crisis days, the best way to live in a capsule. Absolutely.
So the question is, if you want to be prepared for a major world disaster, does strength come in numbers, or is it every man for himself?